Hello everybody. Let's go ahead and look at some basic codes from our advanced or our JavaFX using a few more of the components that we will use for this lecture. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and create the project. And I'm going to go through the entire process one more time so that you are very familiar with how I am going to bring in the scene builder and also the other IDE and write the code. So I'm going to go ahead and start my file. I'm going to create a new project, JavaFX, and I'm going to use the JavaFX application, not the FXML application, because I kind of explained initially what is the difference. Okay, so I'm going to start with the FX application and create next, and I'm going to call it Painter. And again, you can create the application class, but I'm just going to leave it for right now and say finish. So now it is going to create my Painter application. So once I create my Painter application, I'm going to go to class and I'm going to add my class, and this time I'm going to call it the Painter. Remember, we need our FXML, our Painter, that's the main method, that's the Painter Java class that is going to be housing the main method, which is going to call in, the main method includes the launch. The launch is going to bring in the start, or call the start method, which is going to tie it with the controller. So I'm going to give it my class name as Painter. I'm going to finish it, and then I'm going to basically write the code that the book gives you about the Painter, and this is the pretty standard code that I'm going to write. So coming over here, I'm going to write the code, and again, just to give you a little bit of this code. So these are my libraries that I'm importing. This is my application, and as you can see, my Painter class extends application. Okay, so always the program starts with the main method that's going to start. It's going to call in the launch. This is a method inside the main method, and the launch in turn is going to call the start method. Okay, so here is my start method where I would first create my stage, and I have an exception that I'm throwing over here, and then I have my parent. I need to create my Painter FXML. Now this is the part that I can do utilizing the scene builder. So that's my get class and my get resource, and then I have my root, and let's say I say first application Painter. Okay, so now I have to also create the controller. Okay, that's the one that is going to control everything. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the same thing. I have written out the code, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that code. Okay, and I am going to go to my Painter and say new and say Java class, and I'm going to call it the Painter controller. And generally the naming convention is that whatever your main class is, you come up with the main class name and then just add the word controller to it. So I'm going to do finish, and now I'm going to come in and paste my paint controller. Now this is also something that you can that you can copy from this. The skeleton can be copied from the scene builder, because the scene builder would create the FXML, and it also would create the basic controller skeleton, and then you have to come in and write every single control that is going to be associated with it. Okay, So you would see the skeleton been written. Okay, and now I'm going to also, now again, you can, if you created the fxml document with the scene builder, you can save it in the same folder, or what I can do is I can come in and come to the painter and I can say new, and I can create an empty fxml, and I'm going to call it the painter fxml, and I'm going to just create next, and I'm not going to use a controller because this is the controller that I'm going to use that I have already created, and I'm going to hit next and finish. So at this point I just have a basic one. Let me open my fxml. This is my controller that I had created, so I'm going to replace the code with my controller code right over here. Okay, so now let me go ahead and run my painter. So if I say this is what I'm going to use, and if I run it, here is my program that is working, where now I can choose this small, medium, large, and basically start creating my picture. I say green, okay, say blue, okay. So here is my working fxml. Now let me open this through the scene builder to show you how you can create this, the fxml document there. Okay, so if I open my scene builder and open my, so I'm going to go to my documents. This is my NetBeans, and I have NetBeans project right over here. And again, for everybody this is going to be different. So this is my NetBeans project, and this was my painter application source. It's my fxml. So if I open it, this is how now the document looks through my fxml. Now of course at this point this is not working because again this is just the basic structure that you create. Now if you take a look, you will see that the individual components, first of all it's telling you that this is a border pane component layout that you are using, and then you have these radio buttons. So here are my set of radio buttons, and if I click on this radio button black, I can immediately see the layout and the properties that are associated with it. Okay, and then you can see the margin, the width, and I can control all of this. And this, the description of these individual elements and how you can change things is actually given step by step in the book, and I'm not going to go over that because I think that's a good thing to study from there. But the important thing I would point out is this FX ID, this black radio button. So each radio button, okay, in this case the black one, has this ID. Now where has this been used? If I now point you out to this controller right over here, see this black radio button, okay, and then also look to see where it's using your ID. Okay, so here is your red, your green. So that's why those IDs are important, because without the right name you cannot associate any kind of control, and this is all done by bringing in your event. So when you're writing your painter controller, these are small, medium, large, so these are my enum that I just created, and then I'm using these private FX IDs and then associating those IDs with my color. So here is my black, red, green, blue, and then if your pen size, these are my small radio button. So if I go back and actually look at this radio button over here and see my FX ID, small radio button right here, and that's exactly what you would see over here. Small radio button. So this is why if I come over here, okay, if I want to preview the code, I can do a show preview, and it's going to give you something like this, which is very similar to this, but this is the one that I've added my action event. So this is the one that is actually tied with the Java code, but this one is not. It's just a preview. So you can change this over here, but you cannot really do anything over here. So you cannot draw anything over here. But also take a look. This code is the one where you can actually come in and change the appearance, the property. The FX ID is important, and see how you have some actions here that are associated with it. So I can come in and make some changes over here. The controller that I was referring to, if you go to view and if you go to the sample controller, okay, this is the one that gives you the controller. So see over here at this point, it just creates some of the very basic controller skeleton where you have all these private FX ID. Those are the individual components, okay, and it also gives you some basic button pressed, your radio button selected. So these are my basic methods that I have, but I don't have anything inside. So if I now actually compare with the controller right over here, I can show you that when you use this radio button selected, let's look into this one. See how this clear button press, radio button. So this is the one, color radio button selected, okay. So then I can actually go back to see my clear button pressed. So this clear button pressed in the skeleton doesn't have any code, but they actually came in and added this one line of code over here. So drawing area pen dot get children dot clear. So as soon as I click on that, this clear button over here, it's going to clean out the pane right over here. So this is the skeleton that they are referring to. So one way is if you start off with the scene builder, you can save the fxml file, okay, which is this file right here, okay. So once you create the individual components and add all your properties, you can go to file and then save as, and save it as a painter fxml, okay. So then the code that is generated over here is actually this code right here, okay. But you never see the code, you only see this, okay. Now this code, once you write, is actually calling this controller right over here. So if you come over here and see the FX controller, this is the FX controller, okay, and this is the controller that you can also see if you go to view and sample controller skeleton. So that's the controller that you see over here. Again, this one you can copy and paste it in the NetBeans IDE folder, okay. So this one could actually go into the NetBeans IDE folder, and that's going to create the controller, but then you still have to come in and add the code to this controller. So this is the place where you can actually copy paste the skeleton, and the skeleton would only have this part over here, and then some of the basic methods that you have. So color button, size radio button, undo button, these are the ones that you're going to see over there, but then you have to add the code. So here is the one, this is your color radio button. So in the skeleton I have my void clear button pressed, void color radio button selected. So here is my color radio button, and the only thing I did was I had to pass in this action event. See, action event, and then I created this brush color. So that's my pen, color, toggle group, get selected toggle group, get user data. Okay, and the user data is when you actually select that button and start drawing. So that's where you need to come in and add these things. And again, a lot of these things are coming from this extensive input library that we have. See the pane, mouse event, action event, radio group, toggle group. So a lot of these things are coming from here. Okay, paint, circle. So this is how the code would interact. Okay, so this would conclude your first application of how we can create this paint application, and I'll show you another one, or go through another sample code, and then let you guys practice some from the book.